Sometimes you just got to say that's enough to a family member and cut them off. But over a Christmas card?
Sometimes it happens.
Crazy and insane. My crazy family.
Got to be one hell of a Christmas card. I'm excited to hear about it. If you have a crazy family story, 833-CRAY-FAM is the phone number, 833-272-9326, to tell us your crazy family story, or write in on the website, crazyfampod.com. Tony and Stacy with you. And yeah, so I think I only got, 2 Christmas cards this year, somewhere around there. Nobody likes me.
No, a lot of people like you. I think people are just not in the mood to send cards. I got the typical ones of, here's my fabulous life. And I'm a little jaded toward Christmas cards. To me, I don't appreciate the bragging. I'm glad you had a great, 2022, but mine sucked.
Yeah.
I've
never sent Christmas cards ever to anyone at any point in my life, ever. I think it's a generational thing too. I don't know that a lot of, people who, I guess millennials.
Younger generation doesn't really do it.
No, there are some folks my age who do, but it's not many, I can say.
I think we send emails. We're posting so much on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok that we don't need to do something printed. You've already seen everything.
It's an antiquated thing because it used to be, well, this is, you kind of update people on how your life is, and it would not necessarily be a bragging show. Would it be like, we went here this year, we are doing this, and just kind of like letting people know the status of your life because you didn't communicate or see them if they were a distance away. But now we do that all year long on social media. So you're right. There doesn't really seem to be a need for that anymore unless you just really want to up it and put something physical in someone's house that shows how wonderful your life is so you can put it on your fridge and go, look at how wonderful their life is.
Yeah, and ours sucks. I feel like people who have had babies and who have gotten married, they send Christmas cards a lot. Like, here's what happened to us. This was the biggest thing in our lives. And that's fine. And, people do put them on the fridge. That's fine.
Yeah.
But again, if those are people who are important in your life, they already know that it happened.
Yeah.
They were there.
I just throw cards out quickly. I used to when I was younger, I had the foresight of saying, I'm only going to get so many cards from my grandma and grandpa. I'm going to keep those because I have them in some boxes and I see their writing and it's like, I'm going to keep this as a memento. But everybody else, I'm like, everyone's going to die someday. But it's just like,
fuck it.
I don't need everybody's, what I really, here's something I really don't like is when you send a Christmas card with absolutely nothing. Like the only way you know who it is by the return address on the envelope itself.
Yeah.
I've had that where I'm like, who's this even from?
Yeah, I got a couple of those this year where it was, like a picture collage.
Yeah.
And it did come from the person. So it didn't come from the company that made it, but they didn't even sign it. They didn't put anything on it. It's just here's 5 photos of our family. Fuck you.
Yeah, I don't. What's the point? Why are we doing I don't know. I would rather send fewer Christmas cards if I'm going to send anything, and make them meaningful rather than a mass press release to everyone in my address book of here's how amazing I am.
Now that you say that, I do recall that I got a very lovely Christmas greeting from you, and I giggled and I laughed and I smiled so fucking hard. You sent a little bit of a bonus and it was Merry fucking Christmas. And I was so elated. I burst out laughing. It was a definite LOL moment.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the note on the thing. It was Merry fucking Christmas.
That was the best. And it wasn't just because I got a little bonus. It was fucking hilarious. That's exactly what I needed in that moment. So it was wonderful. And that's the kind of Christmas card I want. Yeah. I want something that's going to be different and stand out and not be the typical, oh, here's my year in review. Fuck you.
Yeah. Or passively aggressively criticizing everything that you do. Because I think some of that happens sometimes with Christmas cards or people, making their comments on the holidays of, well, you're not doing like what da-da-da is doing. So, I mean, what do we have in this letter?
Well, and that's kind of where we're headed here. My grandma is the only remaining grandparent. I'm convinced that's because even the devil doesn't want to deal with her.
Nice.
She is my maternal grandmother, so mom's mom. I don't see her when I visit my hometown a few times a year. Our only real communication is that annual Christmas card and her liking my Facebook posts, mainly of my children. So for some background here, I cut all contact with my mother January 2020 due to alcoholism. Here we go with that again.
Mm-hmm.
When she is intoxicated, which is pretty much every day after 10 a.m., she's emotionally manipulative and just plain mean. Only my grandma and one aunt out of 5 aunts and uncles speak to my mother. Well, I just received dear old grandma's Christmas card this year. In it was a folded piece of paper with my name. On it was a lovely guilt trip about how I should stay in contact with my mom, quote, for your own peace of mind forever, and how I'll regret it if I don't. Well, joke's on you, Grandma. That manipulation doesn't work. And the only guilt I feel is not cutting my mother off sooner after allowing her to abuse me and disappoint my children. That's one less card I have to send next year.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because I've heard the same sort of thing too over life and things of that nature. I mean, I'm in contact with my parents and everything, but I've been in situations where the person I was with didn't want to have contact with their family members, and that was their choice. And I was supportive. I'm like, well, based on the shit show that you just told me about, and continue to complain about daily, and it sounds like, and I don't know how much of the stuff was inflated or not, but you're being a supportive significant other. And, it's like, yeah, fuck yeah. I wouldn't want to be exposed to that, or my kids exposed to that sort of way of parenting either. There's nothing wrong. But then there's the guilt trip. But to come to the conclusion of, I need to do this for myself, so I feel like I'm happy and I'm being a good son or daughter, that's a personal one. That's not one someone else can tell you to do.
Right.
I mean, and some people, they want that. But some people really, they can be at peace. Not everybody has to do that to be a good son or daughter for themselves. Some people being a good son or daughter is living their own fucking life and escaping the abuse that they've had, and not just keeping a one finger, in the cookie jar just because.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's so easy to guilt trip somebody that's a narcissist, trying to get attention. This gal is doing what she needs to do for her own sanity.
Yeah.
And kudos to her, because I've done the same with a lot of my family members. It's not healthy for me to interact with them. So we just keep it to email and text, because when we talk about things that are off limits, and they upset me. It upsets my family members, and I don't need your fucking guilt. And sometimes you just have to draw that line and say, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have contact with me, we can't talk about this, or this.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes.
Yeah, it's setting up boundaries, and it's difficult, because a lot of times, you can set your boundaries, and if they keep breaking them, well, then you have to enforce it and either keep making more boundaries, or saying, look, game's over. You went out of bounds too many times.
Yeah. Sorry. Flag on the play, dude. We're done.
Yeah. And that's what boundaries are. You don't have boundaries if you allow people to constantly violate them. Just because you say you have them does not mean that you do, if this just keeps going and there's no consequence to violating the boundaries.
Well, and the whole thing about, it's your mother. I hate that. It's your father. It's, you only have one father. Well, yeah, but you know what? My father was a shit to me. So I get to say who gets to be in my life. It's
such a weird, selfish thing when people, go into that. Well, it's your mother. Well, yeah. And maybe you had a great mother and a great father, or a great this or a great that. It's a lack of being able to look at anything through anyone else's perspective or prism and go, maybe they didn't. And that was but But sometimes you get, well, mine wasn't great either, but I still did this. Well, that was your choice. Do you regret that now? And now you just want everybody to suffer because you did too? Because I think there's some of that goes on as well, where they never took control of the situation, ended up being tormented by the fucking evil person forever as well. And now they're mad when somebody else is trying to control their life a little more efficiently than they did. It's
That's a really good point.
It's like, well, it's just kind of like the idea. And in some cases, it is true where, you got to work your way up in like a job or a career. And, you got to put your time in to get to the higher spot that you want to go to. But that's not always the case with relationships and family relationships. There's no like putting the time in and they're suddenly going to become the better person that you want them to be. That's usually a losing battle. And if you want someone just to go through it because you did and you walked away from that still feeling fucking miserable about the person, it's up to them if they want to not feel miserable. That's not just because you did. Another person has to do the same shit.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That is exactly it.
I think there's a lot of that when it goes on. Well, good luck to you. And I say, I think you're making some good decisions there. If you got a crazy family story, tell it to us. You can write in at crazyfampod.com, or you can call toll free 833-CRAY-FAM, 833-272-9326. Get access to all of our episodes, all of the stories back to back, ad free on Apple Podcasts. Even try it out for 3 days free and start binging away right this second.
My crazy family.
All right.
Cool.